LA prosecutors have revealed that David purchased 2 chain ties under a false identity, the name Victoria Mendez, and he did this after already stabbing his girlfriend. According to the case, he stood there and watched her bleed out, then proceeded to dismember her body. The level of premeditation here is difficult to ignore. Between the fake name, the purchases made after the fact, and what followed, his defense team is going to have an incredibly steep hill to climb. His attorney is publicly confident, but that's fairly standard. Defense lawyers rarely walk into a case saying anything different. Shifting over to Jim Jones, and this is a tough one to watch unfold. The man is running in every direction at once. He's live streaming, trying to keep a studio running, operating some kind of multi-purpose space out in the Bronx with a regular podcast, a private podcast, and on top of all that, he's still pushing to be taken seriously as a rapper. Jay-Z recently made a point, indirectly but clearly, about artists who keep chasing a younger sound past the age of 50. The message was simple: evolve or become irrelevant. And watching Jim Jones right now, streaming himself eating bananas for an audience, it's hard not to feel like that message was aimed directly at him. His rivalry with Cameron and the bet he placed on aligning with 50 Cent to come out on top, it just didn't land the way he expected. And a lot of this streaming frenzy traces back to Kai Cenat. Once people saw the kind of money he was generating, something shifted. It wasn't Mr. Beast that triggered it at that scale, it was Kai. Suddenly, everyone wanted in. Honestly, given how much Ryan's toy reviews pulls in annually, it's surprising more people just didn't start unboxing toys. And finally, Jay-Z has been making the media rounds. His most recent sit-down was with the New York Times. During his New York Times interview, someone noticed Jay-Z was wearing a $5.4 million watch, which for a billionaire isn't exactly shocking, but it's a detail that doesn't go unnoticed. What's more interesting is the push he's clearly making toward new music. All signs point to a release this year. Whether this ends up being his final album is an open question. The man is approaching 60, but don't expect it to underperform. Jay-Z simply doesn't put out projects that flop. And part of that is strategy. He now sits on the board of Block, the parent company of Cash App and Square. It wouldn't be surprising at all if Cash App played a role in moving units somehow. He's always got an angle working. Moving on, Joe Budden's ex, Tahiri, apparently sat down for an interview on Joe and Jada's platform, which raises an obvious question. What exactly is the draw here? Her connection to the culture runs almost entirely through her history with Joe and the widely reported story that she was involved with Drake while they were together, which many people point to as the root of Joe Budden's long-standing animosity toward Drake. Beyond that, showing up in a cheap fur piece talking about her days as a bottle girl doesn't exactly make for compelling television. Partisan Fontaine resurfaced an old message directed at Megan Thee Stallion, referencing the situation involving Tory Lanez. He didn't post anything new, just a repost, but the timing makes it feel more like trolling, given everything currently in the news cycle. And then there's Cardi B, who went on record calling Jay-Z as essential to New York City as a bacon, egg, and cheese. A flattering comparison, sure, and not inaccurate, but consider the timing. Jay-Z is in full rollout mode, doing interviews everywhere, with music reportedly on the way. Statements like that don't just happen organically. Roc Nation's PR operation is very much in motion right now. French Montana, meanwhile, did a cross-promotional deal with a dental clinic in Turkey to get his teeth redone. The man is reportedly married into royalty. A teeth-sponsored deal feels a little beneath that, but he did it. Money Man posted a stack of cash online, inviting people to guess the amount. His name is literally Money Man, so displaying wealth is basically part of the job description.
Boosie has been very vocal lately, fired up over the Vlad situation and especially upset about Charleston White returning to Vlad TV, which he sees as a direct problem. But underneath all the noise, there's a simpler frustration. His paid interview didn't pull the numbers he was hoping for. Estimates suggest around 2,000 purchases, which at that price point comes out to roughly $12,000 gross. After expenses, he's probably netting around $25,000 if he keeps releasing additional parts. It's nothing, but it's far from the windfall he had in mind. The smarter play might be what Tony Yayo was doing right now. Yayo launched a podcast alongside Uncle Murda under a similar structure to Joe and Jada's setup, and he's still doing Vlad interviews on top of that. It's cross-promotion done right. You build your own lane while keeping existing revenue streams open. Boosie will likely land back with Vlad within 6 months. That's just how these situations tend to resolve. Vlad just has to keep things professional and business-focused with him. Boosie wants his cut. That's really what this comes down to. On another note, Vlad did launch Vlad Stocks, a subscription service around $50 a month where he shares his portfolio and walks people through his trading approach. Worth knowing about if that interests you. Stephen A. Smith and Steve Stout had a public back and forth recently. Stout called Smith a clout chaser for engaging with the Megan situation and wading into political commentary. But it's hard to take that criticism seriously coming from someone who regularly goes on platforms specifically to call out names, Cormega, Irv Gotti, 50 Cent, and others. That's the same playbook. The difference is that Stephen A. Smith is a professional sports commentator. Debate and provocation are literally the format he operates in. Both men know exactly what they're doing. Cameron went on record saying that Drake is genuinely needed in music right now. No disrespect to Kendrick, but in his view, Drake's presence matters for the culture. Tony Yayo, during his recent Vlad sit-down, spoke about Ari Shaffir not being appreciative of his opportunity, while also putting positive energy behind his podcast and the work he's building. The fact that everyone in Vlad's circle still speaks well of Boosie despite the tension tells you the door isn't closed. Things just got messy in translation. Boosie's instinct is to look out for himself first, which isn't necessarily wrong, but it creates friction in partnerships. Vlad keeping things strictly professional is probably the path back. As for Drake, with the French Montana and Rick Ross battle looming, there's a question of whether he pops up during the event. Ross has been throwing shots, so a reconciliation isn't guaranteed. But his album timing is close, and both French and Ross have historically benefited from their association with Drake. He kept French relevant up until the Sway Lee record came along, and he's given Ross consistent buzz over the years in between solo projects. The Drake cosign has real value, even if no one wants to admit it right now. We'll see how that plays out. That's going to do it for today. This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.